This is INCRadio, DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Welcome to INCradio South Central States Satellite Studio. I'm your host for today, Nathan Russell, and I am reporting to you from Fort Worth, Texas. A chilly morning this morning. We're in the 50s today, which is a nice little break from, the past few weeks where we've had a pretty warm autumn. And also joining me in the studio, take a look at this. We got Big Tex here live in the studio. There he is. Say hi, Big Tex. No? Okay, he's a little camera shy. All right. But anyways, he'll be helping me out in the studio, but I also have another guest because today's topic is about travel to Colorado. And joining me live from Colorado, we'll go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. It's Arnie. I am here in Avon, Colorado. If you can see behind me, this is my view from my balcony. Hold on, let me do it without me in it. But that's my view from my balcony. It is currently snowing right now. It is cold. I don't think it can be as cold as it is. I don't think Texas is as cold as it is here. But yes, I'm in Colorado this week.
Nice. So, yeah, we thank everyone for joining this morning, and we have dropped our question of the day, and that is, what is your favorite place to travel in Colorado? Or if you could go to Colorado, as if you've never been, where would you travel to? So go ahead and drop your answers in the chat, share with us. Arnie, you'll have to monitor the chat for today because I'm running the cameras here in the studio, so just keep an eye out for that. But my favorite place in Colorado, if I was going to answer the question, my favorite place would probably be the mountains, just generic mountains. And there's several ranges within Colorado. So you can get a little bit of, different types of mountains that you can climb, snow-capped mountains, rocky mountains, forested mountains. Take your pick. They got them all. What about you, Arnie, if you answer the question of the day?
Well, so far, I've only been to Eagle because that's where I'm actually doing my training. And then I'm staying here in Avon. So those are the only two small towns I've been to. Later on today, I am going to go to Vail because I have always wanted to go to Vail. I've seen so many movies setting in Vail, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And so that's where I want to go. And for those people who don't know, Vail is like a ski resort city where a lot of the affluent people go to spend their time. So that's where I want to go. And Mylene did answer that she misses Aspen. And so now she's giving me an idea that I should go to Aspen too.
So where is Vail in Colorado? Is just a rectangle, so it's kind of easy to think about. So where would Vail be? Somewhere in the middle?
So Vail, it's somewhere in the middle. So if you're talking about relations to Denver, we are west. So a lot of the ski cities are west of Denver because then east of Denver is already whatever state is next door. So
right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're in the middle, like north of us. And then like even west more is like Grand Junction, which is closer to whatever other state is on that side. And then north of us would be like Hayden Steamboat Springs, which is another popular destination. And then south would be Aspen and Colorado Springs. So that's kind of where Vail, Avon, and Eagle is.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned you go out east and you're on the border with Kansas. So if you think about Kansas, it's like flat, rolling hills, grasslands. That goes into Colorado about halfway, and then boom, you hit Denver, and then boom, you're directly up in the mountains, really, really high up mountains.
Yes, I do not think Colorado knows what flatlands are. as I have encountered being here. I mean, do not get me wrong, it is so pretty here, but it's kind of scary too. So, but yeah, it's not flat like Kansas is at all or Texas. So it's pretty cool.
So if you could describe Colorado in 3 words, okay, would one of those be pretty? Because you already mentioned one way to
Yes.
describe it.
I think right now it is pretty because of the snow. When I drove in, it was snowing, and then my first day here, um, the snow had kind of melted, and so then it was kind of brownish, which I didn't think was too pretty, but it is very pretty with the snow. So I would say pretty. I would say cold right now because it's actually cold, and I would just say it's very natural. It's a lot of nature that you could see here. You could see rivers. I haven't seen a waterfall yet, but you could see rivers, mountains, and they're not hills; they're actual mountains. And it's just a lot of greenery with pine trees and evergreens and things like that. So yeah, I say scenic, maybe scenic is what we would
Okay.
call it.
Yeah, I could agree to that. Yeah. Maybe my only other word would be rocky, because like they say in the Rocky Mountains, it does earn its name out there. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into our thinking cap segment. So if you don't know, this is our trivia segment. We have 3 questions every episode. Okay. So we sprinkle them beginning, middle, end, and they're multiple choice. But pay attention to the choices because we go A, B, C, D, and then E, F, G, H. Make sure you know your answer up front. Don't change. You can't change it because the way our program collects the answers, whatever your first answer is, that's the only one it's going to log. Make sure you also only put a letter. Okay. So I still have some who are listening who are trying to write it out. Don't write it out. Just write the letter. It makes it easier for the program to pick it up. Okay. But here we go. Our thinking cap question. Colorado has which of the following mountain ranges? Is it A, the Appalachians? Is it B, the Ozarks? Is it C, the Rockies? Or is it D, the Sierra Nevada? Or would it be Sierra Nevadas? Anyways, go ahead and put your answers into the chat. And Big Tex over here, he's going to monitor the chat. He'll check your answers. He'll grade your answers. He's looking very intense.
And this, the only reason I know this answer is because, you know, in elementary school you learn about the different mountain ranges all over the US. So this one I actually know.
Yeah, and you probably actually drove through it.
I probably did.
All right, we're seeing the answers come in now. So yeah, so we bring up mountain ranges because that's what Colorado is mostly known for, is its mountain ranges. So we'll go ahead and move on though. So let me switch the camera. There we go. Okay, so continuing on in our discussion, what was your first impression of Colorado?
Um, so I landed in Denver when I first came in, and it was nighttime already, so it's really dark. Um, I wanted to say my first, like I said, it was just cold because as soon as I exited the airport, is just cold wind coming at you. At the time, it wasn't actively snowing, but it was just cold. And then after that, so from Denver, I had a two and a half, no, a two about 2 hour drive to Avon, is which where my hotel is at. And it didn't take me 2 hours. It took me close to 6 hours to get here.
6 hours. You know, I'll believe that because when I drove out of Denver, I think at the end of September is when I did it. So you drive out of Denver and then you're immediately hitting the mountains. And once you get over, did you go through a tunnel, by the way, on your way out
I
there?
did go through, yeah, I did go through a tunnel, yes.
Okay, so similar to what I did. And then when I got out of that tunnel, it was snowing, and I was kind of like shocked. Was it snowing before or after the tunnel for you?
Mine was as soon as I left the airport. So before, so as soon as I left the airport, there was already some flurries. It wasn't too bad. It didn't get bad until I kind of started, the elevation started to go up higher.
Right.
And what's weird is because it is the mountains, you don't have like light posts out there. So it pretty much is dark. And then if you have your headlights on and you have all this snow coming in at you, it's like a all you see is white. And
Oh, you're
so
right.
you can't see the road. Sometimes you can't see where you're going. Sometimes I had to turn off my headlights just to be able to see in front of me. That's how bad it was. And then when you're driving and it's snowing, um, I don't know if it's Star Wars or Star Trek where they have the spaceship and then all you see is all these stars coming at you, kind of a
Right,
thing where
right.
it's just all that's kind of what it looks like. And so you really have to pay attention to where you're going. And not only is it like the elevation, it's winding road. It's not like straight.
Right, because you have to meander, across the sides of these mountains. And I know what you're talking about. And hopefully you weren't driving light speed.
Um, it looked like I was driving light speed, even though I wasn't. I did share on my social media one of the clips, and this wasn't even high up in the mountain. This was just from me going from Eagle to Avon, which the elevation is only a difference of like 1,000, I think, because in Eagle elevation there's like over 6,000 6,000 feet above sea level. And then Avon, it's about 7,000. And then later, when I go to Vale, it's going to be about 9,000 feet above sea level. So,
And when I was talking to you earlier, you were saying you were kind of feeling the effects of altitude sickness. Did that kind of go away by now, though?
I think it has, and that's one thing you do have to get used to when you come here is the elevation. It does affect your body differently. Because when I first got here and I was driving, and I'm like, why do I feel like so nauseous? Because I normally don't get sick, and I forgot about the whole elevation thing, and I wasn't really prepared because with the whole elevation, you should have like a lot of liquids. You should drink a lot of water to help with the sickness, and I only had my one cup in the car because I came from the airport, so I wasn't prepared. So I just wasn't feeling it until like the next day. I still wasn't feeling well, and then once I started hydrating, I started to feel better. But it's just a weird feeling, and it's just I don't know. It's different.
Right. Yeah, and it's something you have to consider when you travel to Colorado because you might not be understanding why you are feeling like ill all of a sudden, but it is a real thing, altitude sickness. So if you plan on traveling to Colorado, make sure you look it up. The symptoms are pretty obvious. You're just not going to feel well up at the low oxygen levels as you get higher and higher up.
And
Fortunately, I don't suffer from it.
and it wasn't just the altitude sickness, it's also your ears get plugged.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
it's the worst.
like every so many feet, then you'd have to unplug your ears. And then, so I noticed when I was teaching class on Monday, I'm like, I think I'm yelling because my ears were plugged still all day. I couldn't get it unplugged. And I'm like, oh, I hope these kids don't think I'm yelling at them.
All right. So what places have you visited so far there in Colorado?
So like I said, so far I've been to Avon, which is a cute little town, and Eagle. Now, when I say town, I mean real town. I mean, it's like population is about 7,000. And I don't think I've ever stayed at a place where population was 7,000. Everywhere I lived or visited, population was always, over 500,000 people in an area. But this one, it's 7,000, I think is the most. And there are no skyscrapers at all. The hotel I'm staying at is 8 stories tall, and I think we're the tallest building in this town. And so, and then I was like, oh, let me go explore. And within, oh, I don't know, 10 minutes, I've driven around the whole town.
Imagine you wouldn't want the buildings too tall with the winds coming off those mountains sometimes. I imagine
Yeah.
you're sitting in some kind of valley. That's what it looked like.
It is. I'm in the valley. I had to go over the high mountains to get here, but I am in the valley. But it's so pretty though because even in the valley, they have these rivers that just stream through the town, and then you have lakes that I did go to visit. And even though it's cold, people are still out there walking the trails and everything. I think Colorado is really known for all of their outdoor activities. So whether you come here in the spring, the summer, or the winter, there's a lot to do. But the area I'm at, they're really more known for winter sports. They're not really into the summer activities and the spring activities, because every time I would ask the students, I'm like, oh, like when's the best time to come here? He goes, oh, you're here at the best time because this town is all about winter. He goes, we get bored in the summer, we get bored in the spring because there's not much to do. But winter, they love it because that's when you get to do your skiing, your snowboarding, uh, cross country skiing, snowshoeing, which is what I want to try to do while I'm here. So, but yeah, it's nice.
Is there a lot of traffic out there right now?
No. When you have, they have going 30 miles an hour, I guess, is traffic for them. That's what they consider traffic. The only time I did experience traffic was the one day when I was driving home from work, and it was snowing really bad. So of course everyone's driving, between 10 to 15 miles per hour, and that was the only thing, because if you don't have chains on or if you don't have four-wheel drive, then it makes the driving more difficult. So no, I don't think they've got traffic. The only traffic, like I said, is during snowstorms.
And the ski season you said hasn't started yet, right?
No, they don't make snow here, so it's really real snow is what people ski and snowboard on. And so the first snowfall actually was Sunday when I landed. When I did my research, I thought, oh, it's okay. I'm going to get there the beginning of November. I have nothing to worry about because they usually don't get snow until the second or the third week. Well, it just so happened this year was the first year they had it in the beginning of November. And so I was fortunate enough to be stuck in that snowstorm.
Yeah, I bring that up because in the summer it's a completely different beast in Colorado, and the traffic's been getting worse. Like I used to go there a little more than 10 years ago, and it was a very rural state. A lot of people seem to have moved over there lately. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the buildings there in those towns are really new. There are a lot of newly built like developments in these valleys and whatnot as people invest in living in the outdoor state. But the summer is really bad now. Almost and I tried to go to different parts of that state trying to avoid, the crowds. And I went all the way to the far side of the state on the southern part. And it starts turning into desert at that point because you start getting closer to New Mexico and Arizona. And even there was a lot of crowds there. And I was kind of surprised. You run into a lot of traffic, especially on the weekend. That's one thing you need to know. If you plan on driving back on a Sunday afternoon or evening, any of those interstates going to Denver are just filled with four-wheel drive vehicles for people who go out in the weekend. So I was just wondering, and maybe you have to follow up with us after the ski season starts, if the traffic picks up, because if you plan on going in the summer, try to go away from like a major holiday and whatnot. But I think we'll go ahead and go into our second thinking cap question. So here we go. Be sure to drop your letters, a different set of letters. All right. So this peak is the second most visited peak in the world. Is it E, Pikes Peak, F, Mount Fuji, G, Mount Everest, or H, El Capitan? Okay. Go ahead and drop your answers there in the chat. And I think I've been close to two of these, although one of these is in two
Whatever
different
that
states.
pike is, I mean, whatever that peak is, Mount Fuji, was that Mount Everest, El Capitan, and Pikes Peak?
Yeah.
I think I drove through one of those.
Well, it can't be Everest because Everest doesn't have a road going
Yes, I
up.
know. So we'll see which one it is.
Maybe
But you
one
know
day.
what? Let me tell you about my driving experience when I got here, because oh my God, you do not even know. So like I said, driving from Denver going down to the valley, I had to go up the mountains. So the pass, I was supposed to take a certain pass. But because the snow was so bad, they had to shut it down. And then so they had to reroute me. And that's why it took me about 5 hours to get here. Now, I was in a rental, and for me, I normally own Japanese cars, so I've never had an American car. And I didn't know how they worked or where to find to do changes and everything. And so originally, my company had rented out a Toyota Corolla for me. But
Ooh, that would have been
fortunately,
bad.
they ran out of Corollas, right? So I'm like, they're like, oh, are you okay with a Jeep Wrangler? And I'm like, oh yeah, with this snow, I think so, right? So I get into the car and I'm driving, and when I'm going out of Denver, everything's fine. But then as soon as I start climbing up the mountain, I'm gassing it and my car's not going anywhere because of the snow. And they said, because there's no traction and you need to have chains. And I said, there's no way I need chains. This is a four-wheel drive. I should be able to go up this mountain. Well, apparently, I was still driving in two-wheel drive without knowing it because I didn't know how to put it on a four-wheel drive. So then it just took me forever to go up mountains. Like all these cars are just passing me. And then my car, it's skidding. And I'm getting scared because on one side of me is the mountain, and then on the other side, even though it's pitch black, I know it's a cliff because there's rails there and you can't see anything past those rails. So I know they're cliffs. And I'm here getting so scared, you do not even know. And then it came to the point where I got stuck. Like I literally got stuck. I kept gassing. I was not going anywhere. And all these cars are just passing and passing. And I'm like, I'm going to die out here. I have no cell service because you're in the mountain. I didn't have any food because I just had flown in. I didn't have anything warm. I brought a jacket, but I knew I was going to be indoors a lot, so I didn't bring a thick jacket. And I was stuck in the snow. You don't even know. I just prayed so hard. I think that's the hardest I ever prayed in my entire life. And then all of a sudden, some car comes next to me and they just stop. And this guy comes out and he goes, ma'am, are you okay? I go, I don't think so. He goes, do you have chains? I go, I don't. I go, but I think this is a four-wheel drive, so I don't know why I'm stuck here while everyone else is moving. And then so he goes, do you mind? Can you open the door? And of course, I'm here scared because I'm in the middle of nowhere and just some random guys coming up to me. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to let him in. And I opened the door and then he was looking. He goes, okay, do you see that little lever right there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, pull it down. And I'm like, okay. So then I pull it down, which I guess it's how you change it from a two-wheel drive to a four-wheel drive. So then I finally put it into four-wheel drive. He goes, okay, gas it slowly. And I'm like, gassed it. And then all of a sudden I started moving and I'm like, thank you so much. I go, you just saved my life.
Oh yeah, four-wheel drive definitely comes in handy. You definitely though have to know how it works. So just because your vehicle has four-wheel drive, just as a disclaimer, like you said, yours has a lever. Some vehicles it's just a button. I know in one of my vehicles you had to like put it in the first gear, and then you can turn it on, and then it would only work in first gear. But never use four-wheel drive like if it's like a locking differential if it's dry, because you can really mess up your drivetrain, because if all four wheels are moving but it's really dry and there's no slipping, like that kind of pressure has to go somewhere and ends up in your drivetrain. It could break it or overheat it. But I think some of them, I don't know if the Jeep has like an auto mode. I know some of these newer four-wheel drives will have an auto mode where it won't be in four-wheel drive until it detects slipping and then it will turn four wheels. But yeah,
No.
definitely something to consider.
And I'm glad you told me that because I started to realize, because I had it on four-wheel drive, and then when I was driving between work and the hotel, it's not as high elevation and there wasn't as much snow. So then I just started to realize that it was driving kind of weird. And then so I put it back to two-wheel drive. But it is something that you do have to do manually. But you know, from going from a two-wheel drive to a four-wheel drive going up the mountain, it really did make a difference because the whole time I was going up on two-wheel drive, my car was skidding. I'm trying my steering wheel, I think it's straight, but my car kept going to the left or to the right. I mean, there were times where my car was facing the mountain instead of being perpendicular to the mountain as I'm going up. And that was just a big learning experience.
Yeah, and
Something I hope
I know with
something I hope no
Jeeps,
one ever has to go through.
when I know with Jeeps, they're rear wheel drive first, so the power is going to the rear wheels. It's more likely to make it unstable as it's going up. I mean, we should all be familiar with like drifting, right? When the cars go sideways, that's for rear wheel drive vehicles. If you have a front wheel drive, and that's like a lot of your modern small cars, like that Corolla that you mentioned is front wheel drive. It would do a little bit better in the snow because the front wheels are pulling you instead of the rear wheels trying to push it. So that's another thing to consider if there's snow and ice. So just be careful because yeah, your car is rear wheel drive first.
Yeah, so I think I'm used to driving now, but I think I got traumatized just from my first experience of driving through the mountain. And you know what's funny is because when I flew into Denver, I was actually supposed to fly into Eagle Vale, which is closer to where I'm supposed to be at, where there isn't as much problems of going through the pass. But there was only one flight to Eagle, and I couldn't do that because if I did, then I wouldn't be able to attend worship service. So I said, no, I'm going to go to Denver. And the manager said, that's not a good idea because you're going to get in here late. It gets really dark and you're going to struggle driving up the mountain. And I said, oh, it's okay. I drove in the snow before in Reno and Tahoe. And he said, oh, those are hills. Those are not mountains. And I thought he was being sarcastic, but he was being honest because I've driven through Reno and through Tahoe in the snow and it was not bad at all. This is it's a whole nother beast. And so, when I finally got into town and he goes, "Are you there safely?" I'm like, "Yes." And I said, "You are right. This is a mountain. This is not a hill like Reno or Tahoe."
Yeah, there's lots of things you got to consider. Even the state of the roads. So when you'll have your navigation on, it will say like, "Oh, hey, this is the fastest way to get to Denver. Just cut through these mountains." And then you find out like there's really big rocks on the road. It turns into gravel. Um, I remember taking a sports car. I had rented a sports car in Colorado, which I don't recommend because, yeah, if you have to take a shortcut through the mountains, you'll find out your car's not high enough to clear some of the rocks that will be in the road. But yeah, that's one thing to consider. So if you could stick to the main roads as much as possible when traveling, if you don't have any off-road driving experience or rough road driving experience, or if that makes you nervous, or the fact that, like you said, a lot of these places there's no guardrails. It's like you go up,
No.
it's a rocky road, and they don't have guardrails for the entire state.
And see, you bring up that rocky road because so I was supposed to, like I said, it was supposed to take 2 hours, but because they had to reroute me because the pass was closed. So then the way they rerouted me, it said 24 miles of unpaved road. And I said, I am not driving to this. And I did, I had to. And it was gravel road for 24 miles. And I'm just glad I had a four-wheel drive because I don't know if a regular car would have made it through there.
Right. Yep. And yeah. So well, we were talking about other considerations. So there's a lot of weather and road considerations when traveling there. But let's transition into food. You try any interesting foods while you're out there?
No, I don't think they're known for any type of specific food. But even here in the two towns that I've been at, they're very limited with what we have. I'm so used to California and Texas, where every corner you've got a fast food place or you've got a restaurant. Here, it's few and far between. There's only two major fast food places in Avon, and then in Eagle, there's like these two other ones, and that's pretty much it. And then a lot of them are mom and pop type of food places, but nothing where every corner you have something to eat. So it's very limited. And, they just opened up a new warehouse store here, and everyone got excited because now they're thinking, oh, now we're a city because we've got this huge warehouse store that they never had. And I guess everyone drives there. So that's where people are going to now. So, yeah, it's not. I haven't had anything here. I see like Mexican food, I see pizzas, I see Italian and American food, and there is one Chinese food that I saw. I haven't tried it yet, but food wise, it's not like Texas where you have barbecues and stuff like that. So no.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. It's some of the food choices are a little underwhelming. Either that or the locals are kind of hiding them away. I know Denver. Denver has a few quirky restaurants that kind of have their own identity and can be really nice to go to. But yeah, they're not really known for anything. Nothing immediately comes to mind. Not like, okay, if you go to Boston, get the beans, or if you go to Memphis, get the barbecue. Like there's not really a particular food there in Colorado. So yeah, it is a little underwhelming. And also with the altitude, I hear the recipes change. Like I think the boiling point of water changes when you're up there, and you have to modify your recipes. So yeah, it's a little different when it comes to food there in Colorado. But let's go ahead and go to. Oh, go ahead.
No, and not only the recipes, but uh, I went grocery and I bought soup because it was cold. It just did not taste the same as when I'm eating it down there and I'm eating it up here. The taste is also different. So I think that I don't know if that affects it also.
I wonder if it's the lack of oxygen because I know like the Japanese when they talk about eating ramen and they slurp it because they're trying to aerate it and add oxygen to it. I wonder if that's affecting it, the lack of oxygen. But we'll jump into our third thinking cap question, our third and last one. So get your answers in. Which of the following states shares a border with Colorado? Only one of them does. Is it I, Montana, J, Texas, K, Nevada, or L, Nebraska? I, J, K, or L? Go ahead and drop your answers there into the chat. This is our final thinking cap question. So be sure to get your answers in. And then in a few minutes, we're going to close up the thinking cap because we will reveal the answers. So no cheating. No dropping your answers after the fact. And sadly enough, if you're joining us in the replay, we don't look at the comment section because of course you can just get the answers. It's okay. So just to be fair for everyone. So go ahead and drop your answer. Only one of these states shares a border with Colorado. Okay.
So while they're answering that, uh, Miley Novello said oysters. They have oysters here that we should try. So maybe
Rocky
I'm gonna
Mountain
do that.
oysters.
Yeah. So I
I
don't.
would Google that before you you try it.
Well,
You'll
I've
find
never
out
even
what it
had
is.
regular oysters, so we'll see how that is.
Okay, you'll
But yeah,
find out. Look it up. I'm laughing and I'm laughing for a reason. So it's a
then maybe
delicacy.
maybe I should not. Maybe I
It's a
should not.
delicacy. All right. What other
Okay.
comments do we have? Let's go
So,
check the comments.
first of all, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We do have a bunch of folks from different places. We have Rico from Oklahoma City. Jeff Fernandez is from New Jersey. So, thank you for tuning in. We've got Melanie, who is always on. And of course, Renz is always on in my lane. So, thank you for tuning in. And then we have Mario Orca. He is from Brixtonville in the district of Caloocan North, which is in the Philippines. So thank you for tuning in. And then I have my friends from Long Beach. We've got Jennifer on there. I also see Jeb. I knew him in Anaheim, but I don't know where he's at right now. So he's tuned in. And of course, Jerry Hill, who won our thinking cap for the month of October, has also tuned in. And we have Lainey from Oklahoma City. Yep, Oklahoma City. And of course, our folks from uh, Baton Rouge. I have to think of the initials that they're putting in on here. And oh, we actually have INC Radio DZEM on answering our thinking gap questions. So I don't know who from INC Radio DZEM is tuning in, but thank you for tuning in. And who else do we have here? Paolo Velasco from Baton Rouge, Josephine Jesusa. Is she related to Dawn? Is that Dawn? Is it
Yes,
Jesusa?
yes, they are
Okay.
related. They're married to each other, actually.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
really need to go to Baton Rouge because they're always on, and I think we should go do a segment over there. And then who else is on? And then of course we have all our ministers who are tuning in. So thank you for tuning in. Oh, we have somebody from Pasadena, CD Mejia. Oh, I miss Pasadena. Please tell the folks there I say hello. And then, yeah, so we got greetings from different places. So it's pretty cool. I'm just trying to see if anybody wants to visit Colorado. I haven't seen anyone who said they wanted to visit certain parts of Colorado or anything else. So,
Yeah, and
but yeah,
they're laughing about the Rocky Mountain oysters. So
uh,
it's a delicacy. I'll just leave it at that. All right. So would you recommend travel to Colorado?
honestly, I would. I think I'm going to try to come here at a different time besides now. They said ski season doesn't really start until the end of November. So hopefully with the snow we're getting, they open up sooner because I do want to try some of the winter sports. But I've also seen photos of Colorado in the springtime and the summertime, and it's just so green, and the colors of the flowers are so pretty. So I think I would want to come back here when it's not too cold and when the driving is probably going to be easier.
You know, you mentioned snow, like, and I see in the chat some people they want to see snow, especially We have Brother Byron James, who's a minister down there in Baton Rouge, New Orleans. When I visited with my son in June, there was still snow on a lot of the mountains. And I remember going up a mountain pass, and the entire mountain was still covered in snow. You could still walk out onto the snow. It was still very much there. And it was odd because it wasn't that cold out. Like me and my son were walking around just like in like a sweatshirt, like not much. Which is kind of interesting about how the cold and the dry work out there. If it's not windy and it's sunny out, it actually doesn't feel that cold out. And we got Arnie here showing off her amazing view.
So, whoever wants to see snow, look at the video right now. Like I said, this is my view from my balcony, which is the coolest thing. But it is actively snowing. I don't know if you could see the snow actually falling, but it is actively snowing. But look how pretty the mountains are with the snow. When I was driving the other day and there was no snow, it was just so ugly. But now look at all the trees with the snow. The rooftops got snow. The road, that's the part that I wish did not have snow, but it's so pretty. It's amazing, and I think it's one of those where you have to see it live and not just through video.
Well, I know here, like when it snows, and it'll maybe snow here in the Fort Worth area maybe once a year or twice a year. It's like, for me, it's like, okay, this is kind of cool for like 3 days, and then I'm like, all right, I'm sick of this. It's like cold and wet. Everything gets like really muddy and mushy and nasty. So like, I know when it first falls, you're like, ooh, wow, snow, and you take pictures and you play in it. But then after a while, you're like, I'm tired of this stuff. I can only imagine like if you had to live there and you had to live with it for like a few months on end.
Yeah, I don't know how people can live here, but a lot of the folks that lived here have grown up here, and so it's what they're used to. They're not used to what we're used to, I guess. And even though we did have snow in Dallas Fort Worth area, was that last year and the year before, it's just not as pretty as it is here because there it's flatland. You only have it on the ground. Here you have it surrounding. You have it on the trees. You have it on the mountains, and it's just very beautiful. So. I'm glad work sent me here. And
Yeah, we have
so,
Mylene saying she enjoyed being there in the fall because of the autumn colors. Yeah, that's another thing to consider. Uh,
yeah. So when the snow kind of melts, you could still see kind of the leaves that have changed colors, and you see it on the ground also. So it's pretty. But I do want to come here when there really is more snow that I could actually do winter sports, but also in the summer or the spring. So
all right.
yeah.
We're going to go ahead and close out our thinking cap. So we're going to go ahead and reveal the answers. Okay. So on the first one, Colorado has which of the following mountain ranges? Arnie, which one is this?
I think it is the Rockies.
Yes, of course. It is the Rockies. I think vast majority of everyone got that right. The second one kind of tripped people up, but we are talking about Colorado. So this peak is the second most visited peak in the world. Arnie, which one is it?
It is Pikes Peak. That's what I had to drive through.
Yeah, Pikes Peak. So that
I know
is
me
just
see the
outside
answer out too.
that one's up right outside Colorado Springs. So
Yeah.
yeah, that one's definitely an interesting drive. You get up to the top and you look down at the clouds. You don't look up at the clouds. The clouds are actually below you. So that's a really interesting drive. I think they paved the whole way up now. Before it used to be dirt road. I don't know if they put guardrails up the whole thing. So if you're kind of afraid of heights, it might not be the best drive, but it's definitely a drive worth taking. Oh, they also have a train that goes up. So if you don't want to drive, you can just take the train. So there's that too. And then the third one. Which of the following states shares a border with Colorado? What do you think it
So
is,
I think
Arnie?
it's Nebraska.
It is Nebraska. So if you think of Nebraska, it's got that little corner cut out. That corner is Colorado. And it looks
Yeah.
more like Nebraska than Colorado when you get to that part. So, all right. Now we're going to show our leaderboard. Okay. So from last week's questions, okay. Up at the top, we have the Johnson family with 2 correct answers from last week. Everyone else has 1. Okay. So I think it was
You did ask hard questions last week.
yeah, it was about the Philippines. I mean, I wanted it to be challenging, but maybe a little too challenging. So kind of dialed it back down a little bit
That's okay.
for
People
this week.
people could catch up today. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. So everybody still has a chance. Everyone still has a chance to to catch up. So yeah, keep participating. So we're only at the beginning of November, second week. So there's still going to be, is it 2 more weeks? Let me see. Oh no, we're going to have 3 more episodes this month. So you still have a good
Yes.
chance to participate. And of course, we are going to send you one of these mugs, as you can see here. Let me go ahead and get a closer one.
Okay.
There we go. And Jerry Hill sent me a picture of his and it came out good. So
Oh, he
yes.
did? Oh, you
Yep,
should
he already got it.
we should show it next time so that, people can see we actually send it out.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So that brings us to the end of today's show. We thank you for joining us here today. Arnie, you have any shout outs you'd like to give?
No, just shout out to everybody who's viewing. Thank you for joining. And I'm just happy to still be alive.
Yeah, I'm glad you got through that, but you still have a trip back to Denver, don't you?
I know. It's gonna be a weekday, so like you said, it shouldn't be as crowded. And hopefully, when I drive back on 2 weeks from now on a Thursday, hopefully there will not be as much snow as we've been getting so far. But yes, hopefully. But like I said, it's an adventure, and I think just experiencing this has been a good experience. I've just been so used to living on flat land, so being here is different, and it's beautiful, like I said. So it's something everyone should experience at least once in their life.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to sum it up. Driving through there, being in Colorado feels like an adventure. But we'd like to thank our CFO coordinator and SEPC president, Brother Angelo Aranyo Manalo, and of course our executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. So be sure to tune in to INC Radio South Central States next week, same time, 9 a.m. We are not affected by the daylight savings time change. And coming up next is INC Radio New Jersey. Have a good day.
Bye. Last view of the snow for whoever wants to see it. Adios.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth.